just with regards to some of the registrations that we're seeing, how many of these HQs, as part of the regional headquarters program, are actually operational centres versus just symbolic sign-ups or like a registered office rather than actually having people moving in to work there?
The bulk of those commitments are already operational, and we know that because if we look at places like the King Abdullah Financial District, the entire development has been virtually pre-leased. So we've got businesses that are queuing up for that space. And we see the impact of the regional headquarters program in other metrics that we track. For instance, over the last 5 years, 2/3 of all the new jobs that were created in the kingdom were in Riyadh itself. And that has been fueled, as I say, by the regional headquarters program. So it is actually having a significant impact on office demand overall in Saudi.
What would you say is the biggest risk to Riyadh's real estate story in the second half and beyond now?
I think if we're talking about the real estate sector, probably the biggest risk to think about is a slight mismatch between what is being developed in the residential sector and what average Saudi households can afford. We published a report recently called Destination Saudi, as well as the Saudi Report, where we investigated demand from Saudi nationals for housing. And what we found is 2/3 of households have an average budget of about 1.5 million riyals. And for that, they're looking for large family housing. However, when we look at the planned supply, and we've got an ambitious pipeline of over 1 million residential units to be delivered by the end of the decade, the bulk of these are expected to be priced at over $1 million US, which starts to paint a picture of a slight disconnect between expectations and market realities. And we feel a potential solution to that may lie in the greater adoption of something like modern methods of construction. So 3D printing, offsite manufacture, modular housing may help to bring down the cost of construction, which developers can pass on to consumers who are, as we said earlier, struggling to save those ever larger deposits to get on the housing ladder.
And Faisal, if investors were watching one city outside of Riyadh, what would it be?
Probably developments on the West Coast, particularly in and around Jeddah, where there is increased investment from the government, particularly the PIF entities. And we find a vast majority of the giga project developments in Saudi taking place on the Red Seaboard.